Yeah, how's it going? Today is 18th of August, Sunday. Since it's Sunday, we should be taking a look at finances, right? And where perhaps a lot of decisions were made previously. And in today's video, we're going to be reflecting on contagious diseases, right? Something that is happening right now, and I'll try my best track of potential decisions, historical decisions that was made in the past, and preventing perhaps similar decisions being made right now when it comes to diseases, since perhaps there are a lot of people who are looking to make a lot of money from the diseases. I don't know, there's a lot of people out there, right? Myself, I'm not as interested in this subject, other than perhaps it's important. That's one reason why I'm taking a look at this subject. Other than that, profiting from someone's health, I don't know. I don't know. I have written a book about health, so perhaps if you're interested in learning more about health and nutrition, working out, all these kind of things, I'll highly recommend checking out the website. Right. Other than that, we're gonna be taking a look at finances today, and some of the investments made potentially into bombs as well as into production of medicine at the same time sometimes. That will be an article simply that was published on 16. So that will be Friday. And that will renew a G2G agreement with UK will enable US 630 million hospital infrastructure benefit 5 million Peruvians, right? So potentially investments will be made in hospital infrastructure, right? So I have read this article, right, and I thought it might be important. We won't be delving too much into detail about everything, other than perhaps we can take a look at perhaps where Peru is, and from there we can progress into taking a look at disease as of now that's taking place since it was published 3 days ago. So there's a lot of investments in hospitals. So this part is very important, right? Let's take a look at this article. How long is it? It's quite long. I don't know if I should be reading entire article. I'm not necessarily agree with anything what they will be discussing, all these kind of things. But other than that, let's begin by acknowledging a problem, right? So investments are made into hospitals. So this part is good, and there's something that's currently happening. Something that was published 3 days ago. That really World Health Organization confirms first case of a new pox strain outside Africa as the outbreak spreads. So here we go. So we have very contagious diseases spreading, where potentially it would start in some of those continents. It would spread and affect people in Europe as well. That should raise some alarms. Some of the leadership and some of the decisions being made since. Let's progress and or let's delve deeper and trying to understand how some of those medicine factories in Africa was bombed by America. I'm taking a look at, and hopefully this information will be accurate. So I'm taking a look at Wikipedia, right? I'm taking all this information when it comes to historical data. That to the Al Shifa pharmaceutical factory. I can quickly take a look at map for people who perhaps would like to know where this location is. So I just take that location on the map. So it's in on when it comes to the contagious diseases and all pharmaceuticals, that will be important to have these kind of facilities in Africa as well. Since Shifa Pharmaceutical Factory in Kafori, Tor, North Sudan was constructed between 92 and 96 with components imported from Germany, India, Italy, Sweden, Switzerland, Thailand, and United States. So at the time we definitely had all the up-to-date equipment when it comes to addressing some of the needs when it comes to manufacturing pharmaceuticals, right? So now we have contagious diseases coming from Africa and it's spreading to other continents, right? and then addressing its issues. It was opened on 12th of July 1997 and bombed by United States on 20th of August 1998. So I don't know reasoning behind bombing this kind of facilities. Just sending all the people back to Stonehenge, right? So if they develop some infrastructure projects, some of the governments would prefer send some of those nations back into Stonehenge, which is very smart decisions, by the way, by some of the leadership, right? As well as when it comes to life expectancy as of now, Africa could to be considered a very young region, right, with the average age being about 19 years old. And if those people looking to address some of those issues, sending them back to Stonehenge, perhaps that's financially sound decision, right? The industrial complex was composed of 4 buildings. It was the largest pharmaceutical factory in Khartoum and employed over 300 workers, producing medicine both for humans and veterinary use. Right. The factory was destroyed in 1998 by a missile attack launched by the United States, killing 1 employee and wounding 11. United States government claimed that the factory was used for the producing of VX nerve agent and that the owners of the plant had ties to terrorist groups. Okay, okay. As well as perhaps nuclear weapons. We're still looking for those, I think. So if you're looking for a reason, I think they're still looking for those nuclear weapons. And where was it, Iraq? They're still looking for those. Anyway, so they send potentially all the region back into development phase, right? So now, since we're looking for potentially all natural resources, what we can get, right? And prices, we're interested in prices of some of those natural resources potentially, since it's Sunday and we're taking a look at finances. Let's try to understand all players in the market and how we can extract some of those natural resources from Africa. Well, we can take a look at time frames, right? Since this outbreak happened very recently, for whatever reason, this outbreak happened 3 days ago, perhaps a week ago. So let's take a look at some financial contracts happening on this 2 months ago or so. After world leaders announced 1.2 billion to produce vaccines in Africa's Paris summit, right? Great vaccines, right? And production. We're gonna build new facilities, maybe. World leaders, health groups, and pharmaceutical firms announced $1.2 billion, by the way. So it's not necessarily in euros, which is a concerning factor in funding at the summit Thursday to produce vaccines in Africa, which is facing numerous health crises, including rising cholera outbreaks. Right? We won't be delving too deep. We just put a number on it, so that would be potentially $1.2 billion. Since we're taking a look at dollars, I don't know. I was thinking maybe that Europe has something to do with it. Perhaps it's more of the dollars thing, right? As well as, since we're still looking for those natural resources, we can take a look at Afremix Bank and Africa CDC pledged $2 billion facility to $2 billion, by the way, facility to support African health and pharmaceutical products and manufacturing, right? So it's something that was published on a similar date, that was 6th, after the month, and 20th, so 2024. Which is great that they're investing in infrastructure, something that was published 2 days ago in UK, that they're building entire infrastructure when it comes to health. And but either way, one day we'll might as well lift some of those fighters and blow up entire infrastructure again. So things can happen historically. Things can happen, right? And we're taking a look at dollars, right? Since I thought that we can close on perhaps quality of those potentially, so if we have facilities, right, and we would have that infrastructure, I thought perhaps we can take a look at, since this video might be too long, right, perhaps briefly we can take a look at some of those governments and quality of medicine, right, that is something, some of those articles that was published 11 years ago, right, perhaps things have changed since then, but half of the drugs prescribed in France useless or dangerous, says chief specialist, right? So that's even quality of pharmaceuticals, right? If Europe and our partners potentially are gonna be manufacturing and or sending processes and or recipes how to solve some of those issues in places like Africa in return for natural resources. I think that some specialists have noticed that half of them not necessarily would be able to solve anything, and it might be overpriced by the way, but either way, that's something, right? Uh, Same time frame that would be 2012, right? After the French, we just take a look at this as an example, right? So it's not necessarily limited to just France, but potentially other governments have a very similar performance when it comes to STEM medicine. That would be the French government wastes about 15 billions worth of euros a year on useless drugs, book claims, right? As well as with the recent vaccines, all those things, since some of those governments were stocking up on some of those medicines who had very limited use by date, right? So there was so much money wasted, taxpayers' money, so much money wasted, by the way. So that would just put things into perspective. But at least, perhaps, at least there's a plan, right? So at least there's a plan when it comes to developing that infrastructure in places like Africa. There's a reason. So contagious disease, there's a reason. There's a plan. There's investors, and at least things are moving. People are doing things, right? That's close now. Thanks for watching. See you next one.